conditions. The engine developed 6,000 aft horsepower and fully loaded draws about 28 feet. At the beginning of each voyage, the ship loads supplies in the port of Seattle, Washington. Many types of cargoes are placed on board this large vessel: oil and gasoline drums, lumber, boats, and cool room, and cold storage supplies, as well as hundreds of general items such as medicines and sundry kinds of freight are needed to sustain entire villages for a period of a year. Some 6,000 drums of various petroleum products are loaded on board. In order that identification be made easy, color codes are applied to the drum heads, each color signifying the contents. For instance, there are 8 kinds of gasolines, 7 kinds of stove or diesel oils, and about 50 different weights of lubricating oils and greases. Petroleum products play a very important part in village economy. Gasolines are needed to operate light plants and outboard motors. Heavier fuels, such as high-gravity stove oils, are used to heat the individual homes, churches, and schools. Diesel oils are utilized for large power sources in the operations of generators to light and furnish electricity to homes in the villages. Before the availability of petroleum products, coal was transported to Alaska in great quantities. Coal oil or kerosene was also used to furnish fuel needs. From various docks in Seattle, the ship loads for the far north. It makes 2 trips each shipping season. The Bureau of Indian Affairs maintains a receiving warehouse and terminal for the purpose of processing freight for the shipment to Alaska on the North Star and other commercial vessels. Villages in Alaska do have access to air freight services and weekly mail during intermittent periods. However, the North Star delivery carries the bulk of the freight to these small habitations during the once-per-year calls. Heavy machinery, lumber, and cool room supplies are expensive to carry by aircraft. It is necessary, therefore, to utilize the North Star in the freighting of village needs. The ship departs for Alaska on the first of her 2 voyages, usually in mid-April, the second trip in mid-August, with a return to Seattle in November. The first stop from Seattle is 1,300 miles across the Gulf of Alaska. Prince William Sound with sheltered water is a welcome sight for the crew of the North Star, since it usually means getting about the business at hand. Delivery of freight to the first of the villages, which is Tatitlik. Tatitlik is typical of the small towns in this area of Alaska. It is primarily composed of native peoples who derive their income from fishing and working in the canneries. Salmon, crab, and clams are processed in the Prince William Sound area, and this industry continues on down to Kodiak Island and the Aleutian Chain. Alaska coastal waters are home to 5 kinds of salmon, in addition to halibut, cod, shrimp, herring, and bottom fish. The employment needed to process this natural resource exceeds an estimated 25,000 seasonal workers. The ship delivers cargo to Alaska for about 100 different points of call. Each of the villages maintains a school, a church, and usually a store. Supplies for these activities are lighted ashore by the ship's crew. In many cases, the distances for lighterage is great, with some stops requiring an 80-mile round trip between the North Star and the village landing. To accomplish this, the ship carries 4 LCM landing craft on deck. Each of these cargo carriers weighs about 26 tons and will carry 35 cubic tons of freight. The North Star also carries mechanized cargo handling equipment for use on the beaches. 4 forklift and 2 tractors are used for the expeditious movement of cargoes from shipside to place of rest. Sleds are towed behind the tractors, sometimes as far as 1 mile from the beachhead. The village industry and economy is greatly enhanced by monies derived from wages received in the working of the cargo. The North Star crew unloads supplies for all consignees in the villages into landing craft. The landing craft then lighter the goods ashore. In many places, local labor is hired by the native store to assist in the operation. The stores are responsible then for sorting freight into various piles prior to moving to an area near the consignee storage space. In this manner, teachers and others are usually assured of delivery of supplies direct to their doorstep. In many villages, women are hired to work cargo, since the men are either hunting or off on fishing expeditions. During some periods, the men have been flown to canneries located many miles distant. It is necessary to engage all available help in the village to see that the annual supplies are moved to dry storage areas. In the Umnak area of the Aleutian chain, the ship serves 3 sheep ranches. Russian names like Chernovsky, Nikolsky, and Umnak are places in the Aleutian chain. These names attest to Vitus Bering and later other expeditions first discovered and explored this region. The North Star delivers annual supplies to the ranches at Chernovsky and Nikolsky and later loads the wool clip for delivery to the lower stateside. Aleuts are employed in the sheep ranching industry. Food is plentiful for raising of sheep, and although the average July temperature is 57 degrees and the January temperature average is about 15 degrees above zero, very little supplemental processed food is needed. The Aleutian chain area is volcanic in origin, and many villages are located on the numerous islands and slopes of the volcanic cones. Some of these cones are quite high, extending 9,000 to 10,000 feet into the sky. The native population of the Aleutian chain numbers about 6,000. Winds blow in great gusts through the area from the Pacific to the Bering Sea. These gusts are known as willowas and sweep up the Andrianoff Islands of the chain. Many ships have been lost in traversing these treacherous waters. The North Star delivers cargo to only 2 docks on the 2 voyages to Alaska. One of these is near Atka, which is centrally located on the Alaska Peninsula. The storms and the willowas occasionally render moorage at these docks untenable. Large swells curl about the island shores and into bays where the North Star lays to discharge freight. The ship's officers and crew are hard-pressed to effect cargo delivery in the face of storms that plague the area. Great skill is needed to keep the supply ship and the landing craft from meeting an ill fate on the rocky shores. Many of the ship's crew have sailed these waters for periods of 10 years or more during the seasonal trips of the North Star, and they are well versed in the instability of the weather and the seas. Dutch Harbor maintains a fueling station for large ships. It and adjacent Unalaska were part of a large military complex which was active during the 1942 through 1949 era. A large oil company now utilizes the tank farm facilities which were once a part of the U.S. Naval Base at Dutch Harbor. The North Star takes on bunker oil for the long voyage to the north and also stove oil for delivery to the villages. Stove oil is a necessity for the heating needs of the schools, homes, and churches. In some of the larger villages, the North Star will deliver by landing craft upwards of 50,000 gallons for the various consignees. Much of this oil is transshipped from Dutch Harbor. Stove oil is pumped into the ship's bunkers at a rate of 10,000 gallons per hour through 6- and 8-inch lines. Subsequently, the same oil is pumped from the ship's LCM lighterage units to 3-inch lines at the beachheads at about 2,500 gallons per hour. The ship's crew fills the consignee tanks or clean, empty, used fuel oil drums at each village. Bungs and gaskets are furnished for drums to assure that there will be no extraneous matter to contaminate the fuel. Care is taken to see that oil is delivered has the same consistency with low pour point to eliminate freezing or solidifying at low temperatures. Cargo must be carefully marked for destination. In order for the consignee to identify individual items, each piece is either stenciled with the name and address or painted with a paint daub to indicate ownership. Ship's manifests reflect any and all special marks or instructions for freight delivered to the beaches. The ship's purser also instructs cargo handlers and the native stores as to the tonnage and special handling requirements for cargo sent ashore. In some instances, the ship delivers empty salmon cases to canneries on northbound voyage and later picks up the full cases for backhaul to Seattle. There are also floating canneries to process the silvery hoard that is caught in Bristol Bay, Bering Sea, and Norton Sound area. Rivers such as the Unalakleet, Shaktoolik, Nushagak, Kuskokwim, and of course the mighty Yukon are means by which the salmon return to spawn during the spring season, inland and far removed from the sea. Ice is an ever-present hazard to navigation in Alaskan waters. During the early spring of the year, the first voyage of the North Star, many large ice floes are encountered. Again, during the latter part of the season, from the Arctic Circle north, large icebergs are seen. When the ice recedes to the north as the summer season progresses, the ship will hove to in village roadsteads. The annual arrival of the ship at towns where no other vessels are seen creates great excitement among the people. For many years, the bringing of needed supplies arrived only with the North Star. In the 1920s, the vessel Boxer carried freight to remote areas. Then, in 1932, the first North Star was built. This ship carried 1,800 cubic tons and was 250 feet in length. She had 2 hulls and was constructed of heavy wood beams. The second ship was acquired by the Bureau of Indian Affairs in 1949. This steel ship carried 5,300 cubic tons and was 350 feet long. As is the case with the present vessel, the second North Star was encased in heavy steel plate or ice sheathing to withstand the rigors of ice navigation. Ice can mean that the ship's lighterage units cannot be used in transporting cargo ashore. The radio operator on board will then contact the school and arrange with village store to furnish skin boats and crews to move the freight from shipside to the beach or ice shelf. Cargo is packaged before leaving Seattle to withstand multiple handling from dock to ship to LCM landing craft or skin boat, and later from high water mark to place of rest. Here again, village economies are enriched by store payrolls after the ship completes her discharge at the village. Timekeepers, boatmen, shore workers, store personnel, all turn to help in this freighting operation. Faces brighten at the prospect of fresh vegetables, new guns, and a hoard of canned goods that will soon fill the store shelves. People will line the beach and wave goodbye to the gallant ship that brings the annual supplies. The captain will salute this gesture by blowing 3 blasts on the ship's whistle, and the ship will proceed to come back another year. On the first trip, the ship skirts the town of Nome. There are times when she will call at this point for emergency supplies or by request of the Bureau of Indian Affairs area field representative. There are 4 main districts, of which Nome is one of the areas for the dissemination of Bureau materials, educational, health, and welfare information. Other district headquarters are Bethel, Fairbanks, and Anchorage, with the Juneau area office remaining as headquarters. Located on the Seward Peninsula, Nome has no docks and must be reached from the sea by the use of the Snake River entrance. Nome has a population of about 2,500 people, with seasonal increases from tourism and native peoples. And the city is a federal and state office headquarters for the 2nd Judicial District for some 15,000 inhabitants of northwestern Alaska. A short distance to the east are two villages that have schools administered by the Nome Area Office, White Mountain and Unalakleet. Many schools are served by the North Star in the Nome area, and the two schools are typical of village classroom structures. Schools here are operated by the Bureau of Indian Affairs, but in some areas the state or local boroughs may head up the educational activities. The Bureau plans ever-expanding programs to upgrade or replace school buildings with modern structures and up-to-date teaching methods. The Russian government established the first schools in Alaska as early as 1784. One was built at the trading post at St. Paul on Kodiak Island in that year. Other schools were established at trading posts by the Russian-American Fur Company, usually under the supervision of a trader or agent. This company also maintained a school at Sitka, where the more promising native people were given training in navigation, shipbuilding, and bookkeeping. After completing the course in instruction, the young people were retained by the company for periods up to 15 years. In this manner, the company was assured of a continuing supply of competent employees. Increasing expenditures forced the American Fur Company to discontinue these schools for some years prior to the transfer of the country to the United States in 1867. Unalakleet is a typical, progressive, unincorporated village facing the western shores of Norton Sound. The trading post was established here in 1840. The present population is about 600, and the town is situated on a spit close by the Unalakleet River. It is a focal point for airline travel, with the bush flights originating from an airfield or from the waters in back of the spit. Although a few miles south of the Arctic Circle, spruce trees do grow in the foothills, and the tundra turns vivid colors from seasonal flowers. Fishing is excellent during the salmon runs in the river. Salmon is split and dried for not only human consumption, but also for dog food. This fish is one of the staple foods that is shipped from Unalakleet. The summer sun that shines on this land for about 15 to 22 hours each day dries the prepared fish. It also furnishes sunlight for the harvesting of large cabbage heads or lettuce. Each yard has a neat garden plot for the purpose of supplementing the table foods with fresh vegetables. Fish and birds and vegetables are stored in a small cache which has been built on stilts to conform with the winter snow levels and also to keep the local dog population from the food. Dogs and sleds are an integral part of the village life. Dogs that pull the sleds can be of several breeds, but the most popular and accepted Eskimo dog is a Siberian Husky. These dogs are tied in the rear of the houses on short tethers and are sometimes very unfriendly. Several serious accidents have resulted when people have fallen in their midst. On the other hand, the dogs can be friendly and are of real value when harnessed to a sled for the transportation of supplies. There have been times when the North Star discharged freight to the ice, and dogs were utilized to take the cargo ashore. Fishing for personal food stocks occupies many of the village people's time. Some parts of the coastal Eskimos' diet still is made up of berries, fish, birds, walrus, reindeer, seal, and whale meat. The people of Unalakleet are no exception, and each spring the village has the sounds of industry. Although there are 2 stores in Unalakleet, favorite natural foods still hold the preference of many. Eyes will light up at the prospect of a meal from seal liver or muktuk from the whale. But certain supplies must be purchased. Coffee and tea, sugar, flour from local stores is purchased with monies which have been earned by the small local projects. Fish is shipped by air to Nome and Anchorage. Fish buyers from the lower stateside sometimes purchase fish taken from nets that have been spread in ocean waters in front of the village. And here again, the North Star is an integral part of the economies of the native industry. Nets are brought in with the cargo. Cork floats and barrels to process the fish are listed on the ship's manifests. Health and the welfare of the people is part of the ever-expanding program to upgrade village environmental conditions, sanitary pipe for sewer systems that will provide Unalakleet with more modern sanitation. People will be educated to observe the basic rules of safety and health to reduce the incident of sickness and disease. The various projects to accomplish this will benefit the people economically, since the placement of sanitary pipe will require many hours for installation. At some of the discharge points, tides must be worked. Bering seaports sometimes record tides but of a few inches. Nevertheless, due to the shallow conditions of the approaches, the ship's crew must use caution and care to see that the LCMs do not run aground. There are times when the ship's crew will have to wait ashore for 100 feet or so to deliver boxes of cargo. An ever-watchful eye on the weather is of utmost importance. If caught by ice or storm, the LCM landing craft may stay ashore until the wind and waves abate. Fog sometimes drifts in between the ship and the shore, and steering by compass is a necessity. Exact courses are laid, and the North Star will watch her brood of landing craft on the radar to be sure that they always rendezvous with the mother ship. Radio telephones are used to advise specific courses for navigation of the landing craft. Here again, skill is needed to see that the cargo discharge and the pickup of landing craft is done with dispatch. On the second trip of the ship, the first port of call from Seattle is Kotzebue. Kotzebue is a central focal point for the distribution of supplies to such Eskimo villages as Noatak, Norvik, Shungnak, Selawik, Kayana, and Buckland. Here the ship is fortunate to have commercial ladderage facilities which bring the freight from a point 14 miles out in Kotzebue Sound to a distribution warehouse. Cargo is placed on large scows, and upwards of 800 tons is offloaded by the North Star. A regular steamship company vessel also calls at this port once a year to deliver commercial cargo. In 1816, Captain Otto von Kotzebue of the Russian Navy explored this area. After having passed through the Bering Straits, he then returned southward to sail on for the Aleutian Chain. The North Star lies 14 miles out in the roadstead of the sound that bears the name of Otto von Kotzebue. Cargo from the ship is shuttled ashore by powerful seagoing tugs that must double for tugboat services in the thousands of miles of rivers inland from Kotzebue. The town has several churches, stores, and hotels, and here the Bureau carries on an extensive education program. The area is a center for tourism, and during the summer months, people from upriver villages come to Kotzebue to sell ivory, jade, skins, and also to work the cargo that comes from the North Star and from the one commercial sailing. Nets are set for the inevitable salmon migration. Racks are built to dry the fish for winter consumption. And foodstuffs are brought ashore by scows to be sorted for consignee and destination. The modern facilities with power conveyors quickly unload the scows. The arrival of the cargo at this point is a marvel of coordinated moves. The processing of the freight from place of origin at a vendor or supplier's warehouse to destination in Alaska needs considerable advanced planning. Requisitions are originated at the schools, stores, and churches, and other activities many months in advance. For the Bureau, these want lists covering the needed school supplies are forwarded to the area field offices for screening. At this point, the requisitions are passed on to the Juneau area office, where consolidation of standard items is accomplished. The requisitions are then sent to the Seattle Liaison Office for the processing of purchase orders through to General Services Administration. General Services Administration then submits the order to contractual outlets or direct to vendors. The supplies are then delivered to the Bureau of Indian Affairs Terminal in Seattle. At this point, the individual pieces are separated for station piles and boarded for loading on the North Star or other vessels for eventual shipment to Alaska. Each container is marked at the BIA terminal to assure easy identification on board the North Star or on the beaches. At Kotzebue, the freight is checked to see that the delivered cargo conforms with the ship's manifest. Since considerable money is represented by the delivered tonnage, and since the government supplies require accountability, each item is carefully inventoried before transshipment from the central warehouses in Kotzebue. Small riverboats assist in getting supplies upriver, and the village urchins help in this important movement of freight. Eskimo eyes reflect a world of knowledge, and from childhood to old age, the transport of needed goods has been an integral part of the lives of these people. The necessities of life and sometimes the luxuries are available from stores, but this was not always so. Transportation by boat, by dog team, and lately by airplane has made it possible for the Eskimo to enjoy the privileges of living in a modern era. The North Star departs Kotzebue for the continuation of the voyage through the Chukchi Sea and into the Arctic Ocean. Wainwright, with a population of approximately 300 people, is the first stop. Here the vessel hesitates on her trip to load 50 to 60 men on board to assist in the cargo operation at Barrow. Since the town of Barrow is ice-free only a few weeks during the entire year, the ship must get in and out in a very short period of time. It has been found that only during the first part of September the wind, sea, and ice conditions are favorable for a quick unloading period. All hands turn to, and the Wainwright people perform an invaluable service to assist the ship and the Barrow store in the moving of some 4,000 tons of cargo in the least amount of time. While at Wainwright, the captain quickly unloads a few supplies for the people remaining in the village. The loading plans in Seattle always are so designed to allow the ship to make this important delivery. A few cases of candy are also sent ashore, much to the delight of the people. Coffee, tea, pilot bread, and canned milk, along with a few sacks of sugar and flour, do much to bring smiles to the faces of the Wainwright people. The ship will return in a week or so with the Wainwright men from the north, when she is finished discharging at Barrow. At that time, the regular cargo, some 300 tons, will be lighted ashore at Wainwright. But by having these men assist, the ship will be assured of the delivery of cargo to the villages in the south before the main ice pack moves in from the far reaches of the Arctic Ocean. Ice is of great concern to the captain of the North Star. In spite of the safety of having extra plate or ice sheeting, a vessel caught in the main ice pack can suffer extensive damage. Shoal water is present everywhere along the Arctic slope, and ice moving down from the north could easily push the vessel into the shallow pressure ridges that form part of the coastal waters. Continued surveillance and a watchful eye must be part of the navigational duties to see that the main ice pack does not catch the ship unawares. The captain, the officers, and the crew of the North Star are old hands at ice navigation, and when the ship discharges at Barrow, the ice will be respected as a real hazard. Skin boats at Wainwright are an ideal means to traverse the ice pack. The Eskimo hunter goes many miles to sea and threads the leads in the pack in quest of seal, walrus, and whale. Eskimo people are excellent navigators, but the inclement weather and the fast-moving tides which prevail in this far northern area sometimes prevent their return, and there have been instances when the hunters have never been seen again. Barrow is served once per year by the North Star. There is, however, a large airfield for air freighting some supplies. Barrow Village is the farthest point north on the American continent. Beyond this point, north, the Arctic Ocean and the Beaufort Sea are not broken by any land mass. The ship threads as a needle, as it were, to find a point from which she will be able to beat her way southward. She seeks Barrow as if by homing instinct, yet guided by sure hands and the knowledge necessary to navigate the Arctic waters. The Bureau of Indian Affairs has always had a progressive construction program in the existence at Barrow for many years. When the town is sited, lumber, sometimes 250,000 feet, pipe, electrical supplies, and all the necessities for the advancement of the BIA construction program pours ashore from the ship. Ready hands include the ship's engine oilers, cooks, ordinary seamen, and radio operator, as well as the Eskimo villagers to move the freight night and day, sometimes with the frigid far northerlies blowing and the sea spray freezing on working gear. And then Barrow is sighted, and sea watches are broken to continue at a later date. The construction program at Barrow is somewhat indicative of the Bureau's plans for the education of the Eskimo, Aleut, and Indian children of Alaska. Great steps have been taken in the last 3 decades through departmental reorganization and progressive educational programs. Today, the Indian Affairs operates about 80 day and boarding schools with over 6,000 children of Indian, Aleut, and Eskimo descent. All of these schools, with the exception of 2 boarding schools, are, like Barrow, remote, where other school facilities do not exist. Teachers for these schools come from many places, from Miami, Florida, Iowa, the boroughs of New York, and from the local natives themselves who have had the benefit of formal education. From the North Star to the beach is but a mile or so, and one goes from the clanking of the ship's gear and the bustle of freight-moving activity into a world of Eskimo-oriented thoughts, mores, and culture. Seal meat and muktuk from the whale are in evidence in the small native stores. Clothing changes in appearance. High and head-encircling parka ruffs of wolverine with beautiful white furs are seen about the town of Barrow. Although the Arctic Eskimo of Alaska speaks the Eskimo of the Chukchi language stock and dresses with clothing made from natural resources, lower stateside imports are being seen quite frequently. English is spoken in the schools, and graduates from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, Mount Edgecombe Boarding High School near Sitka, have an enviable command of the language. New teachers in the villages are always startled to see native tools and foods alongside the canned delicacies of the large chain grocery outlet. Muktuk, the hard, slightly pink and black flesh from the whale, sells at prices in excess of $1.50 per pound. Whale bombs might be an item that rubs the high gloss of a crescent wrench on the shelves of the native cooperative store. Stove oil is sold by the gallon or by the drum from large bulk tanks. This oil, with an operating temperature coefficient of minus 45 degrees, is brought ashore from the North Star tanks and pumped through large 3-inch lines. Tractors pulling the wagons operate from this same oil to deliver supplies to the consignee doorstep. Buildings are heated with not only stove oil, but at Barrow, the Eskimo family is fortunate to have gas from underground wells to serve his needs. Water is obtained from a lake far inland. Occasionally, storms are so severe that nearby water sources are polluted. When this brackish water is unpalatable, many families chop fresh ice from bergs lining the beaches. It is hoped that the roads from the village at Barrow to freshwater lakes inland will help alleviate water shortages at certain times of the year. The Bureau schools and quarters are comfortable in the far north. Outside the class, with the usual books and stoves for home economics, is the Eskimo man with a shot seal. The skin of the walrus still is used to construct the Umiak boat, and paddles are whittled from driftwood, which had an origin far to the south of this treeless land. And yet the cargo is still worked with haste to take advantage of nature's interval when the ice leaves this land for but a short period. Haste by all is the goal of the freight movers. This kind of night and day activity has succeeded for the past 30 years of the North Star operation at Barrow. To see that the people are adequately supplied with the necessities, and that the Bureau schools have books and desks and the ingredients to make a total educational program a success is the ultimate goal, as weary crews strive to complete the cargo discharge and get on south. Shifts change with hardly a let-up. Pallet boards are shuttled back and forth, and vital drums of gas are loaded to LCM landing craft. Meals are prepared continuously to feed large crews. An occasional whale blows in the distance, but still the work goes on. And when the last piece of cargo is placed on the scows, only then is there relaxation in the work efforts for the ship's crew and the longshoring gangs. Landing craft are heaved on board, and the gear is made fast to secure for the trip south. Hatches are battened down, and a well-earned sleep for all hands is in order. The ship's engine department will prepare the engines for getting underway. The radio operator will alert Wainwright and other villages to the south of the impending arrival of the ship. Sometimes, at the end of the discharge, some of the ship's crew go ashore to arrange payment for lighterage and longshoring services, or possibly see friends in the villages. The people are acquainted with the ship's first officer, who knows most along the Arctic slope on a first-name basis. This officer started as an ordinary seaman on the first North Star during the 1930s, and many of the children who were given the delight of candy bars have grown to adult members of their communities. They have never forgotten the mate or the ship North Star. Their affection for this officer and the vessel is akin to their love of material things, and whenever the ship goes, the name of the North Star brings pleasant memories of candy and favors, and of books and of lumber, and of the good things from the lower stateside. And then the ship will move to the south to return of another year.